It happens almost every night. The lights go off, the room goes quiet, and the moment someone speaks to you in the dark, your voice drops to a whisper. Nobody told you to do it. Nobody made a rule. But your voice falls to a hush anyway, as if the darkness itself were listening. You have done this your whole life. You will do it again tonight. And you have probably never once asked yourself why. That is the strange part. Because there is nothing about darkness that should change how loudly you speak. Sound travels exactly the same whether the lights are on or off. The air does not thicken at night. Your throat does not weaken when the sun goes down. And yet the behavior is almost perfectly universal. Across cultures, across languages, across every continent humans have ever settled, people lower their voices in the dark. So why do you do it? The easy answer is politeness. You go quiet at night so you do not wake anyone. That feels obvious. But watch yourself closely and the explanation quietly falls apart. You whisper in an empty house. You whisper alone in a tent. You whisper in a dark room when the nearest sleeping person is 100 miles away. The instinct still fires when there is no one to disturb, which means politeness is the story you tell yourself afterward. It is not the reason. The real reason is far older than manners. And to understand it, you have to stop picturing your bedroom and start picturing your ancestors. Go back 200,000 years. There's no electricity. There's no fire that lasts the whole night. When the sun drops below the horizon, the world does not dim. It vanishes, and in that blackness you are not the most dangerous thing awake. Leopards hunt at night. So do a dozen predators whose eyes work far better in the dark than yours ever will. For most of human history, nightfall was not the end of the day. It was the beginning of the most dangerous hours of your life. The dark was the time when something larger, quieter, and hungrier than you came looking. And here is the thing your body never forgot. When you cannot see, sound becomes everything. Think about what happens to your senses the instant the lights go out. Your vision, the sense you lean on for almost everything, goes nearly useless. So your brain shifts its budget. It pours attention into your ears. In the dark, you hear the house settle. You hear your own heartbeat. You hear a sound 2 rooms away that you would never have noticed with the lights on. This is not your imagination. Your hearing genuinely sharpens when sight is taken away, because your brain reallocates resources to the sense that can still protect you. The neuroscientist Seth Horowitz spent his career studying this, and he points out something most people never realize. Hearing is the fastest sense you have. A sound can be processed by your brain in a fraction of the time it takes to recognize an image. And your ears never close. There are no eyelids. While you sleep, while you blink, while you look away, your auditory system stays on guard, scanning the dark for the one sound that matters. For your ancestors, that was not a quirk. That was a survival system. So picture yourself 100,000 years ago, lying in the black mouth of a cave. You cannot see the threat, you can only hear it. And in that situation, every sound you make is a sound a predator can use to find you. Your voice is a beacon. Loudness is a location. The safest thing your body can possibly do is go quiet. That is what a whisper is. It is not politeness, it is camouflage for your voice. Now notice what your fear system does the moment you sense danger in the dark. Your breath gets shallow, you go still, and your voice, if you use it at all, drops to almost nothing. The neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux mapped the brain circuit behind this, centered on a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. The amygdala is your threat detector, and Ledoux discovered something unsettling about how it works. It runs on a fast track that bypasses your conscious thinking brain entirely. That means the order to lower your voice in the dark never waits for your opinion. By the time you would have decided to be quiet, the decision has already been made for you, deep beneath your awareness, by a structure that has been keeping mammals alive for over 100 million years. You do not whisper because you choose to. You whisper because something older than choice is choosing for you. But there is another layer to this, and it is even stranger. Because in the dark, your brain does not just listen harder, it starts inventing things to listen for. Have you ever heard a noise in a dark, empty house and felt absolutely certain, for one cold second, that someone was there? Nobody was. You knew, rationally, that nobody was. And still your whole body braced. That reaction has a name. Researchers call it the hyperactive agency detection device, and the anthropologist Stuart Guthrie was among the first to describe how powerfully it shapes the human mind. Here is the logic your ancestors lived by. Imagine a rustle in the grass. It could be the wind, or it could be a predator. If you assume it is the wind and you are wrong, you die. If you assume it is a predator and you are wrong, you simply feel silly for a moment. Over millions of years, the brains that survived were the ones that defaulted to assume a mind is behind the sound. A hunter, a presence, something with intent. So in the dark, your brain quietly tilts the odds. It treats ambiguous sounds as threats. It populates the blackness with imagined watchers. And when you feel watched, what do? You go silent. You whisper. You behave exactly as if there were a predator in the room. Because for 10,000 generations, behaving that way is what kept your bloodline alive long enough to produce you. There is one more piece, and it hides inside the way you actually hear motion. A psychologist named John Neuhoff studied how people perceive approaching sounds, and he found a consistent bias built into the human ear. We perceive sounds that are getting louder, sounds that seem to be coming toward us, as closer and more urgent than they really are. Your hearing is tuned to overestimate an approaching threat. It gives you a head start. In the daylight, you barely notice this. In the dark, with your eyes useless and your amygdala primed, that same bias makes every creak feel like footsteps closing in. Now stack all of it together. Your hearing sharpens when the lights die. Your threat circuit takes control without asking you. Your mind fills the dark with imagined presences, and your ears are wired to assume the worst is coming closer. Every one of these systems is screaming the same ancient instruction. Be quiet, do not be found. The whisper is just the sound of all of that, leaking out. And this is where it becomes personal. Because you do not live in a cave. You live in a house with locks and lights and a roof. There is no leopard. There has not been a leopard in your family line for thousands of years. Your rational mind knows you are safe. But the systems that lower your voice were not built by your rational mind. They were built by every ancestor who ever survived a night they were not supposed to survive. You inherited their caution the same way you inherited the shape of your hands. That is why you cannot simply decide to stop. You can know, with total certainty, that the dark room is empty. And the moment someone speaks to you in it, your voice will still drop. The knowledge lives in one part of your brain. The whisper comes from another, far older part that never got the message that the danger is gone. So think about what is really happening the next time it occurs. You walk into a dark room. A voice asks you something, and before you can think, your answer comes out hushed and low. In that instant, you are not just being quiet. You are performing a ritual older than language. You are doing the exact thing a human being did 100,000 years ago. Lying awake in the dark, listening for the sound of something coming. Nothing is coming. Nothing has come for a very long time. But your body does not believe it. Your body still keeps watch. And every night, in the smallest possible way, it reminds you of the world it was actually built for. It happens almost every night. The lights go off, the room goes quiet. And when your voice drops to a whisper in the dark, you finally know the truth. It was never the silence you were protecting. It was you.